What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Turn off the music. Hey, welcome to Saturday Night Crypto on Sunday. I apologize, I was not able to be around yesterday. I was having a nice casual evening with some friends. Hadn't seen in a long time, so I had to postpone this one night, but here we are. So hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully you guys are staying safe, and hopefully you guys have stayed patient, because I think patience is the key, the critical kind of term, the most appropriate term for this stage where we are at right now in the market. Patience. Patience. And you'll see why as we talk a little bit further. So what happened in the past week? Last week was Saturday the 8th, and we were at $110 billion market cap, and today a low of about 102 on Friday, and then over the weekend recovered a little bit to 103. Man, we're shooting down there for the double-digit market cap. Man, that's brutal, just absolutely brutal. Down here, we're still in the top 50 as far as, you know, the value relative to, you know, companies like Microsoft, Apple, and things like that. But God, Jesus, I imagine if we do drop below 100K market cap, then we'll probably drop down a little bit. But that just means there's more room to grow, so that's not necessarily discouraging. Now, if you're holding a bunch of coins, it's gonna be hurting pretty bad. But the other thing is, if you're holding coins right now, is there really that much further for them to fall? That's kind of the... It's kind of like, if you haven't sold by now, is now the best time to sell? That's tough, man. That's the really tough question. Let's take a look at the charts. So, I mean, make no mistake, we are still in a downtrend. We're still in a bear market. We've been in it since January, and there has been no signs of a reversal. The only time there was a little fake out was right here back in October, and it was a fake out, right? Didn't quite happen. There's lots of support levels to get through, and we are currently bouncing, if you will, on the 3,200, 3,100, 3,200 support. Long time support, going all the way back to July of last year. So it's not looking too bad as far as, you know, this could be a sign of reversal, but it also could be, you know, a sign that there's more bearish momentum to come, right? Because the volume, if you look at the volume here, which is this orange line, it's still got life, right? As the volume, what you want to see is, you want to see this volume turn around and go down, and it looks like it might be turning around here. This is on the week time frame. Let's zoom in. Let's zoom into the day time frame. So here we are on the day time frame. Now this is interesting, because what it shows is the price is dropping here, and it also shows that the volume is very clearly starting to go down, which means, you know, implies that the sellers in this case are running out of steam. So that's a good sign. We also have a bullish divergence on the RSI. So let's go to a different chart here that's a little cleaner. So if we look at the one-day RSI, what you'll see here is, you'll see that we're making lower lows on the price, yet we are making higher lows on the oscillator. Let's just kind of draw this down here. Draw another one, right? So on the same time frame, you have lower lows on the price, higher lows on the oscillator, and that is considered a bullish divergence. And you don't ever want to just say that and be like, oh, great, a divergence, I should buy, right? You said bullish divergence. What you use bullish divergence for is as one data point out of a set of data points called a confluence of indicators, right? So if we see bullish divergence and another thing and another thing and another thing and another thing that are all bullish, that means there might be a good entry. So let's keep looking for other things. Hey, what's up, Richard Hurst? How you doing? Better late than never? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Glad to have you, man. Indeed, definitely better late. I would not miss a weekly crypto live stream for the world, because you know, I'm always looking at this stuff, and I'm anxious to share it with you guys as well. So there's a bullish indicator. A second bullish indicator here is that the volume, well, it's on the day volume. On the 1 day volume, the volume is still just kind of flat. So until the volume starts to drop, we can't really say that's a bullish indicator. What about the 4 hour? On the 4 hour, we're just kind of ranging here. So no, not really anything great there. Let's go back to the 1 day. Actually, I want to go back to the 1 week just for a second. So let's look at Bitfinex on the 1 week chart. Now look how low the RSI is, right? It dropped under 30 on the 1 week for the first time since 2015, right? Like, holy crap, man. So when the RSI drops below 30, that is an indication that the asset you are looking at is oversold, right? Now, that doesn't mean there's going to be a reversal right away, but it certainly means that we're getting pretty close to a point at which buyers could take over if that's what they're looking to do, right? Like, now, when that happened back in 2015, so let's just get back here in 2015 when it happened, here, right, the price ranged in that zone for another year, almost. So it doesn't mean we're going to pop right out of it, right? But that just might mean, hey, that was the bottom, right? In 2015, that was the bottom. And then there was a long stage of accumulation before, finally going all the way back up and kind of getting this huge, 241% return. Right? What's up, Kaz? Are you doing Duelist or Artifact after? I'm going to play Artifact tonight, Kaz. Most likely, unless a bunch of people want to see Duelist. Are you streaming on Twitch? Yes, I'm streaming on Twitch and a bunch of other services, but I can see all of the text, so it's all good. So you, sir, are on YouTube, so it's fine. You can hang out on YouTube. You can hang out on Twitch. I'm also on Periscope and Mixer. I'm pretty much on all the streaming services except Facebook right now. So it's cool. You don't have to move unless you want to. But yeah, I'm also on Twitch. I'll type all my... Whoops, that is not... Here. If you can read that text, there's all of the services that I'm streaming on. Capitulation soon. Well, it's hard to say, right? Because in 2015, as we're pointing out here, the last time we hit an RSI this low, the capitulation phase lasted almost a year, right? But it didn't go down, right? So if you had bought right here, you would have been really bored, but you would not have lost any money, right? Like any value in crypto, right? You would have gone up and down and up and down and up and down and been right back where you were like, 6, 7, 8 months ago. And then it starts going up, right? So is that what we're looking at here? Are we at a bottom? It's hard to say. A lot of people seem to be calling 3,000 for the bottom, right? That doesn't mean it will be. But I know that a lot of people really seem to feel that 3,000. So I've actually marked a bunch of these. Take a look here. So I've marked a bunch of these supports here. I tend to use the coloring scheme that I use is green for support, yellow for questionable hybrid support resistance, red for resistance, and blue for like really, really low, good possible good entries. So as far as really good entries that I'm eyeballing, they're down here in the 2,600, 2,200, and 1,930. That doesn't mean it's ever going to get there. A lot of times when I'm marking up like an alt chart, I'll just kind of level in all these ladders, and half of them don't hit, right? But that's fine, right? You're just looking for interesting supports for entries, right? So, this one here at 3,200 could be the very lowest that we see in the next 8 months, right? Who knows? Or we could drop down to here, which is like 28, 2,900, which I think is where a lot of people believe will be the bottom, right? It's hard to say. I mean, we're starting to see some bullish indicators now in the charts, and that is interesting, right? But as far as, a real bullish indicator, we have to break out of this zone that we're in here, that we've been in for a while. This kind of green to yellow zone that we've been in since the end of November, which is at the 4,300 zone, right? We really have to break out of that for for anything to be considered bullish, and we're nowhere near that, right? So we're still bearish. The trend is bearish, and if you are buying coins right now, you have to understand that you are trading consciously against the trend, which is not, I mean, it's fine, it's risky, right? And it's not like you can't make money doing that, but you have to acknowledge that you are trading against the trend, because right now the trend is bearish, right? So if you are have a high risk tolerance that you can trade against the trend, I would not recommend it. I like to trade with the trend, right? Just think about it like, just like, you know, it's like swimming against a current, right? Like, sure, you can do it and get where you need to go, but your arms are going to be really tired at the end of it. Why would you do that when you can just wait for the current to come around to your side and then just be like, backstroke, you know, like, it's just so much easier, right? So I don't know. I mean, that's my personal preference, right? I like to trade with the trend. What's your user on Twitch? Can't find you. I am Silvermist on Twitch. SYLVERMYST. Silvermist with 2 Y's is what I am on Twitch. You can find me there. I typed it in chat, but anyways, cool. So, what else can we see about the Bitcoin price? Let's look at a few other indicators. Let's look at the Bollinger Bands. So let's turn them on. Okay. So if we look at the Bollinger Bands on the 4-hour chart, they're starting to tighten. And here in this red line here is kind of the middle Bollinger Band. So normally what happens is you get a close outside the bottom Bollinger Band, and then you hit the middle as resistance, which we did right here, right? You can see it kind of bounced off it, came down, bounced off, came down, broke through, came down, and now it looks like the middle Bollinger Band is support, which would be a bullish signal, right? And what you're looking for here now is to get up to this top Bollinger Band, which is about, well, from where we are right now, we're talking about 1.5%. So we're looking around the 3,300. So if you're day trading this, you're looking for a close outside the 3,300 for your next take profit, if you're long. But it's on the 4-hour chart. Let's look at a few other, I want to see a few other views of this just to see if there's anything else we can see here. Let's get the RSI back up. I want to look at the MAC at the Stoch. Let's open up the stochastic and let's take a peek at that. I want to jump way out to the one day here. Okay. Let's see here. It's interesting. Okay. So take a look at this. Does this show up on the 1 week also? Does this show up on the 1 week? Yeah, it actually does. So here, look. So look at this. So I'm just looking at this with fresh eyes here, and if you look at this bottom oscillator here, the stochastic is kind of like the RSI. You know, all you need to know, like, you don't really have to know exactly how it works. I'm not going to get into detail on this right now. I could do another segment directly on this if you guys are interested. But when it gets below the 20, it's oversold, and when it gets above the 80, it's overbought. But what's interesting about the stochastic, which is makes it different from the RSI, it has 2 lines and they cross. And when you get a bullish cross, which is down here, and the blue line kind of comes on top of the orange line here. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see this. I was going to do that. Okay. So when the blue line crosses up over the orange line from below it, that's a bullish crossover. So I'm going to mark these. You've got one here. You've got one here. And it looks like one's ready to happen here, but it hasn't happened yet. So let me zoom forward. It looks like one may happen about here in time. Let's see, were there any others? Let's find another one. Let's go way back and find another one. Here's another one. I'm just looking at these. I'm just marking these right now. And that's probably good enough. So now let's see what happens to the price after those bullish crossovers, shall we? I'm going to get rid of the RSI for now. Well, it's fine. Let's just hide it. Close it. Okay. So historically, on the 1 week, right, when the stock has crossed over bullishly, right, which happened right here, we had a nice bullish move. When it crossed over here, what happened? We had a nice bullish move. Now, in this case, that bullish move lasted 28 days, so that's about a month. We had a month of bullishness here after this one, and 46%, pretty good. And here, a little flat, but then we crossed bullish and we moved bullish for about 21 days here, about 30%, not bad, not bad. And now we're about here, kind of waiting for what looks like it might be another bullish crossover, but it hasn't happened yet. So this is another preemptive bullish sign that I'm seeing here. And it looks like, you know, if this repeats and we see this crossover, and not until then, you know, could be an interesting time. So I'm going to leave this on there. Let's get into some smaller time frames and see if we see the same thing. So now we're looking at the smaller time frames. So here's a bullish crossover. We had a nice bullish run. Here's a bullish crossover. We had a nice bullish run. Here's a bullish crossover. We had a little bullish run. And here's one as well. We had a tiny bullish run. And actually, look at that. On the one day, it actually did cross over, right? So if we zoom in here, you can see that it actually did cross. Now, it hasn't on the 1 week yet, but that's because the day indicators move faster than the week indicators, right? They're slower since they're larger time frames. So we actually do have a crossover here, and I'm going to mark it in a different color. We'll make it blue so it doesn't conflict with the green that we used on the week time frame right there. Oh my God, drawing a circle is hard, guys. Okay, so that's really interesting. That is a potentially bullish indicator there. Okay. What's up, Shadow Zab? How's it going? So that's interesting to me. Let's get even closer in now. I want to get into like the 4 hour and the 2 hour and see what we see here. Okay, I don't need the stock anymore. I'm just going to close that and bring up the regular RSI. And let's bring up the Ichimoku cloud since we're looking at smaller time frames here. And let's hide that for now though. That's fine. And okay, so what do we see on the 2 hour? Now this is a much smaller time frame. So any pattern that we see on a 1 and 2 hour time frame, you know, if it plays out over hours rather than days or weeks. So I don't like looking at these charts, especially not for a trend reversal, right? When you're looking for trend reversals, you really want to look at the high time frames, like 1 day and 1 week. But if you're just looking for like kind of short-term price action, it's fine to look at the, you know, the 1-2 hour charts. So it's an interesting bounce here, right in the zone. Let me look at some waves here. Did I mark one of these? I did. Okay, so here's a. I don't know if you guys buy into Elliott wave theory, but here is a little. So this wave here suggests that we might still have a little bit further to go, right? Now here, because if you guys are familiar with Elliott wave, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where 2 and 3 is the longest segment generally, not always, but generally the longest segment. It can't be the shortest, but it is usually the longest, right? And the other rule for this to play out is that. You know, 4 cannot pass where 1 was. So if this 4 was, if this 4 was actually up here, it would be invalid. This pattern would be invalidated. So one way, now this pattern hasn't happened yet, right? And we could go down or we could go up. Now for this pattern to invalidate, all that it would take is to cross through here, through this red line, which I drew right at 4. Which would be, that red line is at, you know, 33.24. So if we pass 33.24 at all and close on a 2 hour time frame, this pattern will be invalidated, which would be great if you're bullish. But if you're bearish, you know, I think we're looking for a target here of around, you know, 3,100, 31 and change. It's kind of where I put this bottom of this wave before it starts to, you know, retrace a little bit. Retrace going back up in this case. So it's interesting. What we're seeing here, I think, on Bitcoin is a confluence of indicators. You know, bullish, 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 bearish, bearish, right? The overall trend is still bearish. This wave is bearish. There were about 3 or 4 bullish indicators, so it's mixed, unfortunately, right? So this is not very clear as far as what to do. And then the RSI on the 2 hours right in the middle. It is bullish though, because you know we're making higher lows, so that's good. And having fun with economy. Oh, always, always, Elder. Lately, I started looking at stocks and crypto, so yeah. Oh, you guys chatting about... I'm Zabidel from YouTube. Watched you for a while, but got burned out on Duelist and unfollowed everyone. Hey, cool. Nice to have you, man. Yeah, I do crypto streams once a week for an hour. And then I go back to games, playing Artifact and Duelist, which I'll do after this. But right now, we're chatting about crypto. So, TLDR, guys. We are still in a bearish market. We're still in a downtrend. Don't lose sight of that. If you're buying coins, you are trading against the trend. Do you really want to be doing that right now? I don't know. I wouldn't personally, but that's just Bitcoin. Let's look at altcoins and see where altcoins are. Here's the altcoin dartboard, as I call it. And it's not all red, but do you really want to be buying darts and throwing them at this board? How good of aim do you have, right? Like, this is not my kind of dartboard, right? I like to throw darts when the board is mostly green, like where it's hard to hit a red square, right? Right now, it's like, if you throw in this zone here in the mid caps, you might hit green, but it's risky. So I don't think we're there yet. I still like to wait. I think waiting is better. Like, yeah, there's some crazy, 46% here and 6% here, but like, are you really going to try to get those? So... it's just, you can. It's just like swimming. It's like swimming against the current, right? Like you'll spend a lot of stress, you'll spend a lot of effort, and you might get where you want to go. But why would you when you could just wait a week or two and, or maybe even days and have an all green board where you can't miss, right? So I think that's where we're at with alts. Another interesting thing we noticed here is that for the first time ever, the US dollar price of Ethereum, which is $86, I know, has surpassed Bitcoin Cash. And by surpass, I mean Bitcoin Cash fell faster and has now dropped below Ethereum in US dollar price, right? I know, that's pretty crazy. That Bitcoin Cash has taken such a beating lately. And I mean, it's all because of the whole fork and the, just like I did a stream on this a couple of weeks ago where I talked about Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Cash ABC and Bitcoin Cash SV, feeling like gang wars on a elementary school playground, right? Like they're name calling and they're threatening and they're doing all this stuff and infighting each other, and it's just like, guys, shut up and just make your product. And I think they both finally started to do that, and they're not going at each other's throats anymore, and they're just like, fine, we'll show you, and that's where we're at right now. And great, I'm happy to see that. May the best coin win, right? And but God, Bitcoin Cash took a hit because of all that stuff, so they're down in the dumpsters right now, totally wrecked, and we'll see what happens. Litecoin. What's up, Roman? You want me to look at Litecoin? Okay. I will look at Litecoin. Let's first look at ETH, just because ETH against Bitcoin is a nice macro indicator of how the market's doing. Let's look at it here. Back when it was in this channel, which I need to put on the log scale. Okay, so back when it was in this channel, it was a very good indicator of what alts were doing relative to Bitcoin, right? When it was going up, alts were gaining value. When it was going down, alts were losing value against Bitcoin. Now, we're way down here in price discovery mode. We had a nice trend support here, but we broke down, and now ETH is just wrecked. It has been flat for... the past almost 2 weeks, which is not bad. You could say uptrend because it did wick down to here and on the day chart. Let's go to the 4-hour. See what we see. As far as ETH against Bitcoin, it did break into the cloud here, but we did not have a bullish crossover of this blue and thick red line, which you want to see before you want to see blue crossover red here. Let me hide everything else so we're just seeing that. This blue and this red. You want to see these cross bullishly before entering the cloud, this big red thing here. But that hasn't happened, and of course popped into the cloud and popped right back out. And now it looks like the tank in here is being serving as resistance, which sucks. So it's got a long way to go before before Ethereum gets in there. Hit the bottom of the Bollinger Band, hit the top of the Bollinger Band, and now it looks like it's kind of coming back down again. First looking to cross through the mid and then down. So this is bearish. Ethereum, ETH is pretty bearish right now. Let's look at Litecoin, because somebody said Litecoin. Let's look at Litecoin against Bitcoin on Binance. Woo, look at that. That's pretty. What happened here? Was this based on news? I imagine this was fundamental, right? 11%. 11% against Bitcoin is pretty good in this market. Was that fundamental? I have to do a little research. I have not looked at Litecoin in the last when was this? This was the 15th, which was just yesterday. So anything that happened in the last few days, I have not seen. So if I can't imagine this was just organic, but it could be. So like I like to pair technical analysis with fundamental analysis, so I would look to see what possibly caused that, but it is interesting. If you were looking for the answer, what caused it, I can't tell you because I didn't see it, and I have to do a little research. But the RSI is really high right now. If you were in Litecoin, this would be a very good place to potentially take profits, unless whatever caused this is so fundamentally sound that that we're seeing, like a symmetric triangle and a continuation. That's possible, but I don't know what caused that news. But it is interesting. So Litecoin bottomed out here on the 11th. Let's zoom out a bit. Let's see here. So we've got lower lows, lower lows, lower lows in general here. And as far as this goes, I'm not actually convinced that Litecoin is out of this channel. We'll have to see if it can cross into the cloud here, the 1-day cloud, or even the 4-hour. Let's see how it's doing on the 4-hour. Actually crossed through the cloud on the 4-hour, huh? Let's see. This is nice. I mean, it jammed through there quite strongly. So, I mean, this is actually pretty bullish right now. This is scary, the RSI being up this high, especially with the market doing what it's doing. But I mean, if Bitcoin can hold here and not drop down, then that's going to be bullish for all the altcoins, right? Like especially the high cap altcoins like Litecoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Tron, Stellar, Cardano, those guys. So it's interesting. Let's take a look at the Coinbase coins. So let's look at like Zcash. Let's look at Zcash. How is Zcash doing? I mean, it had a nice little run up, 6%, 6% the last couple of days. Nothing incredible there. Let's look at Stellar. Let's look at Stellar on Bitfinex. Stellar's not looking too good. It dropped down. It's still like Stellar was going to be listed on Coinbase, and then they started putting in a bunch of like small cap altcoins like Mana, Loom, and coins like that, which is funny because like nobody ever asked for those coins. Coinbase is funny. They announce on their Twitter, "Hey, we're good guy Coinbase. You guys asked for assets, so we're adding assets." What's funny is they're not adding the assets that everybody's asking for, right? Because we all know what everybody's asking for. Everybody's, regardless of whether or not they should add or not, everybody's been asking for Ripple for a year. They didn't add Ripple. They added Mana and Loom. Do you really think that Coinbase's, support mails and customer service inboxes are overflowing with requests to add Mana and Loom? Like, really? Really? I don't think so, okay? I think Coinbase is just like, let's throw a bunch of Velcro balls at the wall here. Now, I'm not saying that the fundamentals on those coins are bad by any means, but they're certainly not as strong as some of the high caps like Stellar, Cardano, and Ripple and some of the other ones, right? So it's just really interesting to see them like add these rando coins to the exchange. Like what must be their logic? I can't even imagine. I actually started a spreadsheet and I'm slowly doing research on all the coins, on the 30 coins that that Coinbase said, hey, we're exploring these, and I'm trying to find like what's the link between them. Like, are they just solid, fundamentally sound projects? Are they leaders in their space, like in their sphere? Like, but I don't have that research done yet, and I don't want to jump the gun and start talking about it before it's ready. But I'll just let you guys know that I am doing fundamental analysis on those 30 coins. I have a spreadsheet, and I'm looking at the teams, I'm looking at the projects, I'm looking at the amount of code, I'm looking at the communities, I'm looking at the market cap, I'm looking at a lot of things to try to figure out like where those 30 came from and why they're listing them. Because if we can predict the coins that Coinbase are more likely to list, like we did with ZRX and BAT, we can potentially get ahead of the game and get some really nice leads on the community and make a lot of money, like we did with ZRX and BAT. I would love to get ahead of the game on the 30 coins, and I'm happy to share that with you guys, but I'm still doing the research. So I should have some more of that, next week, in the coming weeks. All right, so Stellar does not look too great. Let's look at what else. Cardano. Let's look at Cardano. Oh, Cardano is having a nice couple of weeks here. What is this? 7%? I mean, that's for Cardano, that's pretty good. I mean, Cardano has just been beat to all hell. I mean, look at this, man. If you bought at the top, it's 91%. But that's like 91% is kind of the story for a lot of altcoins in late 2017, early 2018, right? That have been around. Like OG coins are down 90%. Like that's ETH is also down 90%. Kind of creeping up the RSI here. Trying to push for an edge-to-edge in the cloud. I'm not really sure if it's going to happen. We did get the bullish Tenkan Kijun cross right here, and then we pushed into the cloud. We haven't closed in the cloud yet, but looks like another 27 minutes we're probably going to close in the cloud. Looking ahead, yeah, it's hard to say. The cloud is still pretty bearish, but I don't know. That Cardano looks interesting. What else? So let's see. Let's look at some of the coins they just added. So they added Decentraland. Let's look at Mana. I don't want to look at it on Coinbase. I want to look at it somewhere that it's been for a while, like Cardano. So I already fibbed this, right? And it looks like this. What did I mark here? This was the most recent pump here on Coinbase. It's since retraced all of that and then some, coming down almost 160% of the original gain there. Now coming back up to where it started again, but Mana's been pretty wrecked. If you would buy for long term in crypto, what coins would you look at buying long term? Okay, so what you're asking is, if I was going to invest in crypto. Now I can't answer that as an advisor because I'm not a financial advisor. So I can only give you my personal opinion. And, the coins that I like personally for me, long-term, are going to be coins that are solving interesting problems, are looking like they're going to be around in several years. They have strong teams. They have good marketing. They're well-funded. They have good communities, right? Like, these are the factors that you want to use to determine what a good investment might be. And I can't answer that because it's going to be unique to each individual person, right? But I can say that if any of those things fail, if they don't have a solid team, if they don't have an interesting project, they're not solving interesting problems, the team doesn't have a great background, if the community is just a bunch of people saying when Moon and when Lambo, right? Like you don't want to have anything to do with that, right? You want to look for coins that are going to be around in years and years. Now, Bitcoin is such a coin, right? Like Bitcoin has a lot of runway ahead of it, right? And 5-10 years from now, most people are quite bullish on the future of Bitcoin, right? As far as other altcoins, I can't tell you what altcoins are going to be here in 5 or 10 years because honestly, none of them, like they all could fold for all I know. Nobody has this, such an interesting project that, it's absolutely a certainty that they're going to be around 5 years from now, right? That's like asking in the middle of the dot-com bullishness during the crash, like, could you point to Amazon and Facebook and Google and be like, those guys, right? Not necessarily, right? It wasn't until they started to come out of the dust and the rubble that you said, holy shit, these services are really cool. Like, I see the spark of genius here. We're just not seeing that yet in crypto. So I don't think we're there yet to, there's a bunch of coins that I have in my long-term portfolio, but I think what you're asking is like long term. And right now, Bitcoin is about it. And I think Ethereum has an interesting prospects as well, but that's just my personal opinion. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Sorry, I can't give you a better answer, but I'm not a financial advisor, and I can't just call out coins, and I wouldn't want to do that anyways. But I'm happy to talk about some of them fundamentally and help you understand what the fundamentals of a coin are, so you can make up your own mind. Happy to do that for you. So Mana has been turning around a little bit. Let's look at Loom. That was another coin that Coinbase added. Let's look at it on Binance. Looks kind of similar. Took a big hit. Did not retrace 100% though, so Loom has been holding its value a little better than Coinbase, although it does seem to be struggling with the 786 fib, and it's bearish. It's bearish right now. And what was the other one? The CBC? Yeah, CBC. Let's take a look at that on Binance. CBC looks pretty similar to Loom and Mana, similar charts. It's just like ever since it got listed on Coinbase, just kind of been going down and, having trouble maintaining its value. But I mean, everything in this market's going down, right? The altcoin dartboard looks like this. So we're going to see a lot of alt charts that are just kind of headed down right now. Okay, let's look at BNB. I like to look at BNB just because BNB was the one coin in early 2018 that went against the trend. Bitcoin spent 6 months going down while Binance Coin was going up, right? And also Binance Coin, Binance Coin announced their decentralized exchange, and that's what this is here. You know how I say sometimes, you see a big pump in price and you're like, what caused that? Well, I can tell you in this case, because I happen to know, that it was Binance announcing their decentralized exchange, going into beta or progress was being made on it. They showed a few screenshots. It actually looked really slick. And then, of course, Binance goes up 30% in just a couple of days, which is pretty crazy. Binance has a lot of things going for them, right? Like, they are the #1 cryptocurrency exchange in the world, I think. Not as far as volume necessarily, but just as far as like the overall user experience, right? They've been hacked like twice, and they stopped the hack and they rolled it back and they caught the hackers and they protected funds are safe, right? Like, everybody's funds were safe. And like, it's just all around a really, really good experience for an exchange. It's been around for a long time, and now they're going to make a decentralized exchange. And what in the hell will that be like? I am excited for it, and I imagine that that when that happens, BNB is going to go up. Now that doesn't mean that it's not going to go down before then, and we have at least a couple of months before that exchange, has significant progress or launches. But man, like, just look at how well Binance has been holding. 1 minute, I didn't mean to do that. Look at how well Binance has been holding its value, right? Just overall, when all the other altcoins are down like 50 and 60%, even since like, all the way back here to July, right? We're almost at the same place we were in July, which is way better than other random coins that have dropped like 50 and 60%. Binance is a little engine that could, right? They're hanging in there. They are hanging in there. Just holding on. Doing pretty good. I like Binance Coin a lot. Fundamentally. From the fundamental perspective, I like what Binance brings to the space of crypto, right? So it's really interesting. And I think they've got a long life and road ahead of them. They've got so much money. Like, you don't ever have to worry about Binance going bankrupt, right? There's a lot of teams out there that you're wondering if they're going to make it through the next winter, right? Like, did they bring enough, honey into the cave to survive the hibernation? But Binance, you don't have to worry about that. They've got so much money and resources that, like, it's just like, are they spending it wisely is the question. But In the last, you know, 4 or 5, in the last week, you know, not much has happened here. Just kind of ranged. But I always like to just kind of peek in at Binance, see what it's doing. Let's look at something, at some other coins. Let's look at Ripple. XRP. Let's look at it on Binance. Oh, Ripple. Ripple's been hanging in there too. Ever since there was like the musings of a bunch of institutional investment into Ripple, and like Coinbase said it was considering it for their custodial services. Like Ripple's been on a tear, man. Look at this, man. And a lot of people really love to hate Ripple. They're just like, it's centralized bull crap, and it's like, you know, it's such a moon boy coin, and all the OGs hate Ripple. Like people who've been around since 2015, they just hate it. Meanwhile, like Ripple is just like tearing up, and you know, such like it's been a great moneymaker. But I personally am afraid to hold this coin long term. I've traded it a lot and made a lot of money on this coin, but I am afraid to hold this coin long term just because it's so polarized, and there's lawsuits, and is it a security, right? And there's just so much drama around this coin that here's a good example of a coin that's dangerous to hold long term. Like Shadow, you said like, hey, what's a good coin to hold long term, right? This is the opposite of that. And I'm not saying it's not going to go up 1,000%, but it's dangerous, right? There are coins that don't have this much emotional drama and a chargedness attached to it, but this one is not one of those, right? So it's just really interesting to see. People love to hate this, but I mean, it's been doing pretty well lately. But then again, by lately I mean like in the last couple of months. In the last couple of weeks, it hasn't really done anything. And look how tight the Bollinger Bands are. It looks like we're waiting for a big breakout one way or another, and we're currently sitting on the 382 fib from this last push up to here, up to about 10,000 Satoshis. 10.5. Yeah, interesting. Let's look at Tron. It's another emotionally charged coin. People love to hate Tron. They think it's just vaporware. But again, Tron's been doing pretty well. So the thing about Tron and Ripple that you have to acknowledge is forget about the fundamentals. Forget if you like Justin Sun or what it stands for or whether or not it's centralized or security. Just look at the market cap, right? It's in the top. Like Ripple has been, you know, it's top 2 now. It was top 3 for a year and finally broke past Ethereum. Now it's in the top 5. Top 2 market cap, and then Tron is in the top 10. Like these are all the high market cap coins, like going down here to like the top 10, maybe even Cardano, right? So what typically happens when you have a big move with Bitcoin is if Bitcoin has a nice little run, then it kind of cascades. Like Bitcoin has a run, yay, and then the market gets into Bitcoin, and then when Bitcoin starts to stabilize, there's confidence in the market, confidence that, you know, Bitcoin's not going to just dump. So people say, hey, I'm going to buy my favorite altcoin project, which typically are the high market caps. Just purely statistically speaking, right? More people have these guys as their favorite altcoin than other coins. Otherwise, the other coins would have a higher market cap, right? So whether or not you love or hate these doesn't matter. The masses are buying, you know, and trading the high market caps, which include Tron and Ripple and EOS and Stellar, right? So regardless of what you think about the coin personally, they're being traded, okay? So when Bitcoin has a nice little run, normally the high caps follow that, and those guys will have a nice little run, and then they will pass that on to the mid caps, which will go, and then the small caps will go, and then there's a dump, and then who knows what happens, right? As long as Bitcoin can stay stable, that's usually the kind of the domino effect that you get. It's like Bitcoin, then the high caps, then the mid caps, then the low caps, then Bitcoin, then they rinse and repeat, right? Until Bitcoin dumps and everything goes with it, and that's a reset. That's a wipe. You know, if you're playing World of Warcraft, that is when the boss wins and everybody wipes and has to go back to their bodies. That's a raid wipe when Bitcoin goes down, okay? But normally what happens is, you know, you send in your DPS and then you send in your ranged, and that's how the coins typically go. If you guys want to sit through my geeky video game references, and hopefully you guys can palate that okay. All right, so Tron is actually looking pretty good here. Wow, it's been on a really nice run just since here. 17% in 4 weeks. That's pretty good. Less than 4 weeks, in 2 weeks. It's pretty nice. Pretty nice. I'm not sure what this pump was here. This is probably based on some kind of news or announcement that Justin did. I didn't see it, so I'm not sure. This was back in the end of November. What did Tron do at the end of November? Was that a partnership? I want to say maybe. I'm not sure. Anyways, so let's look at some other. Let's look at Monero. Let's look at Monero. How's Monero doing? Monero's doing pretty bad. That's pretty bearish, but also kind of hitting here. Let's. Oh, we have to roll way back here. We have to go to one. I have to zoom out to 1 day to find. Wow. So Monero is actually in price discovery mode right now. There's no support or resistance back here to tie these prices at, which means that, you know, if the fundamentals are strong on Monero, then, you know, there's going to be some good buying opportunities for this coin. As far as where to accumulate, though, it's hard to. I mean, we're lower. The price is lower than it's ever been. Closed below the lower Bollinger Band here. Never made it to the top. Closed again. Did make it to the top here. Closed below it. Currently at the middle Bollinger Band here, and the Tenkin as resistance. If it can break through here, there might be another 5% before some resistance. The RSI is trending bullish, which is interesting. And yeah, so Monero's interesting. Let's see what else we got. If you guys want me to look at a coin, by the way, a chart, by all means, just type it in the chat. I will be able to look at it. Got about 15 minutes left. I'm just gonna kind of go through and look at some. Let's look at the Bitcoin Cash coins. Let's look at BCH, ABC on Binance. Whoop, that's Tether. BCH. Let's look at ABC first. So BCH ABC is the Roger Ver version of Bitcoin Cash. SV is the Craig Wright version. And so this has been pretty wrecked. Pretty wrecked. Had a low here at 23,000 Satoshis, and it's gone up since then about 3%. And we're hitting that middle Bollinger Band resistance here on the 4-hour. Let's look at SV on Binance. SV has been swinging harder. The chart doesn't look identical, but from here it does. Like from about the 6th of December, the charts look identical between ABC and SV, although it had a harder bounce here recently. Did wick the top of the Bollinger Band. It looks like it's coming back down now. So this SV looks a little more bearish than ABC. Is that true? Is that true? ABC is a little bit more bullish just because kind of coming off the bottom of the Bollinger Bands here. The volume is rising as the price is rising, so that's good. It's got nice healthy volume coming in. We want to see if it can break through this middle Bollinger Band, and then going back to SV one more time. Volume is healthy here too, but yeah, so it might bounce back and come to the top of this. We did enter the cloud. Well, we broke into the. I mean, the cloud is so new here. Yeah, there's not enough data because this coin hasn't been around for very long. It's only been around since November. And the cloud is twisting bearish up ahead, so it's hard to say. I'm not in any of these coins personally. In fact, you know, if you want to know when I'm in, when this board is green, ask me, hey man, what coins are you in? Right? That's when I'll be trading, when the board is green. Right now, I'm just sitting with, you know, my darts in my pocket right now, so that I have something to throw at the board when it turns green, right? If I buy coins right now, then I'm gonna get stuck potentially, and that's not good. So I'm just sitting here with my darts in my pocket. Let's see, what else can we look at? Let's take a look at IOTA. Just looking at some of the high market caps here to see what we see. Anything here? Man, look at that. I think I drew this line like in September. Boy, did that hold up. Boy, did that hold up. I mean, it's a downtrend. But man, let's duplicate this and see if we have a channel here. I need to get off the log. Okay, let's turn this off. Copy this. Do we have a channel resistance here? No. Well, sort of. Sort of. This doesn't look very good. This is just bearish. Like, it's just bearish. It doesn't show any sign of reversal, really. RSI is really high. BSV. I just looked at SV, Richard. Do you want me to go back to it? Is there a question you had about BSV? We just looked at that. Yeah, I don't really see anything here. Let's look at some other interesting coins. Let me just go through my watch list here and see if there's anything. How about WAN? How about WAN chain? God, WAN chain was so ahead of its time back in, oh God, this is just awful. Is this log scale? No. Poor WAN chain. Jesus. Well, the reason I say this coin is ahead of its time is there are 3 coins that are their fundamentals. Their project is based on blockchain interoperability, which means at a point in time when we need different blockchains to talk to each other, there are 3 coins that are 3 projects that are kind of pioneering that technology, and that is WANchain, Icon, and Aion, A-I-O-N. And I say they're ahead of their time is because we don't need that right now. Like, there are not so many blockchains that are viable and awesome and applications running on those that we need them to talk to each other. That doesn't exist. That's a problem that will exist 5 years, 2 to 5 years from now, not today. So they're really ahead of their time. But we will be so happy that these guys are around when that happens, because it's gonna happen eventually. But they're so far ahead of their time that like there's no value. Like, there's just no value in these right now. So it's really hard to make a fundamental use case for these until individual blockchains start becoming important, and they're not. They're just not yet, because there are no applications that you have to have. That said, we're in price discovery. We've been in price discovery for a long time. We just keep dropping, and have a little bullish divergence on the RSI, it looks like. Whoops, did not mean to do that. Let's spread this out. So if you look here, you've got some lower lows in the price, yet you have some higher lows in the RSI. So that is a bullish divergence. But I don't like using that as the only indicator because, like, let me find another place where we saw that. I mean, usually when you see that, you do get a little run. So here, nope, that's a match. That's not a divergence. So we need price to drop while the oscillator goes up. Let me see if I can find another instance of that anywhere. Probably here. Price to drop while the indicator goes up. No, we haven't seen this in a while, actually, huh? What about here? No. Here? No. So we haven't really seen this in a while, so it's interesting. I'm going to leave this on here. Let's put this here. Bull div 1D. Okay, let's put that there, here. And we'll see if this plays out. It'll be interesting to see. Let's go into the 4 hour and see if there's anything that shows up here. Still have that divergence, looks like, yep. Great info, like always. Have to run for now. All right, take it easy, Richard. Always nice to have you. Hope to see you again. Have a good week, and I'll catch you later. So we got about 5 minutes left. Let's look at the other ones. Let's look at Icon. So these are the blockchain interoperability coins. That is not as much of a divergence as WanChain had. I mean, I guess if you go from here, well, it's interesting. If you go from here to there was a divergence, and then this was the play as a result of it. So like this and that could have predicted this, possibly. In which case, if the market wasn't so crappy right now, WanChain actually looks interesting. Let's see if there's any other. Let me go back to WAN again. See if there's any other good indicators on this. Let's look at the. There's nothing on the cloud. Bollinger Bands are okay. The RSI's meh. How about the stochastic? Let's close the cloud and open up the stochastic. What do we see here? Nah, that's not so great. Not only that, but yeah, I see that it's trending down. We'd really need to see a breakthrough. So I would not buy WanChain, even though there's some really bullish divergence here and some interesting, volume going down with the price going down. I would want to see it break through here and cross bullishly before I picked up any of this. So it's always good to look at more indicators. Okay, and then Aeon. So Aeon is pretty wrecked. I was charting it back here as it was just ranging, and then it just dropped. Let's give it. I've been looking at Aeon for a long time. I like what these coins are doing, but there's really no reason to pick up these coins fundamentally right now. Okay, so nothing really to see there. We got one, so 3 more minutes. Let's look at one more coin. I'll just spin the wheel of coin here. Where she stops, nobody knows. Quark Chain, okay. Whoops. So Quark Chain was really interesting. We made a nice, we made a lot of money on Quark Chain as it went through here. We made like 60 something percent, right? Just selling. I mean, not with the whole stack that I used for it, but I ended up laddering my sells and getting out the last bit here at like 60%. This was incredible. And it's still going. Like I could have just held and so there was opportunity cost in selling there, but I mean, that's usually what I do. This was in a bear market, right? In a bear market, taking 70%, you don't look back and kick yourself for not getting the 112% that you could have gone. Like that's fine. Like I have no regrets whatsoever about this. But God, Quark Chain has been doing incredible lately. That said, where is it going to go from here? I would need to extend these all out. This is not a good buying opportunity for Quark Chain, even though this is in a bullish trend right now. Looks like the RSI and the stochastics are kind of turning downward, and if history is any indication, they're going to come back down to about here, which should break down through here. But if there's a bounce off this trend line, then this could be an interesting entry point here. But if it comes down to here, they could break down. It's hard to say. I like the fundamentals behind Quark Chain though. It's interesting. So still got about 2 minutes. Okay, I guess we have time for one more. Oh, DNT. That was the other Coinbase coin. Let's look at DNT. Has not retraced all the way back 100% since they announced it. So better than Mana. Whoops, sorry. Better than Mana, which has gone below 100%. But about the same as Loom, right? Loom is right here at the 786. DNT is right here at the 786, right? So it's very similar kind of profile to Loom. I'm not seeing any great buy signals or sell signals here. Like, there's so many coins out there, and when I look at a chart, like I will probably look at 70 to 80 to 90 charts before I find one that's actually worth a trade. So if you're finding yourself looking at like 3 charts and saying that one looks good, I'll buy it, you're probably not looking at enough charts, or your conditions are too loose, right? Especially in this market, right? Like if everything's green, maybe you can look at 3 charts and take a trade. But if there's this much red and you're only looking at 3 or 4 or 5 charts and taking a trade, you have to ask yourself, like, is that the right thing to do? Like that's super high risk. So certainly, yeah, that's not for me. Could be for you, but that's not for me. Bands are tightening here. Yeah, I don't know. I think that so if let's wrap it up here in TLDR and go all the way back. So, you know, overall, there are we're in a bear market, we're in a downtrend, but there are actually some bullish signals starting to show up on Bitcoin. Now, this is not good. The Stochh is not good on Bitcoin, but there are a few indicators that are interesting. There was a nice bounce here off the support. If we can hold that, that's great. I would be looking to, you know, probably range in this zone for a while. If we break down below this, however, I'm going to be a little bit more bearish all the way down to the 2900 zone, where I would hope to see another bounce. And if it breaks through that, right, there's a couple of other supports here, you know, way down here in the 2900, you know, 2300 range. But in order to get bullish, as in a market reversal, we would really need to break through and retest this 4300 zone here as support, which is going to look something, you know, something like this. We would need to see that in order for talk of a reversal to happen, right? And ultimately, like for a true market reversal, we need to break this red trend line, which is way up here. By the time the price gets to it, it would probably be at about 5K, right? So we're nowhere near that. So if you want to know when we're going to, well, I mean, I don't think you're going to need to ask when we're in a bull market, right? It's going to be pretty obvious because you're going to have a full green dartboard for a while. Price is going to be going bullish. We're going to be breaking resistances. And, you know, what could be the catalyst for that? It's probably going to be institutional money coming in, or some really interesting news that I can't predict. We know that in 2 months or a month and a half from now, there's going to be a final decision on the Van Eck ETF. My personal opinion is that it will be denied, but that's not because I don't want it, not because I don't think it's awesome. I just think the crypto sphere has failed to prove that market manipulation is not a concern. That's a lot of negatives, right? So the ELI5 way of saying that is market manipulation is still a thing. The government doesn't like that. They have no reason to greenlight an ETF in a world where market manipulation is still rampant out there, right? So, you know, it's up to the exchanges and the ETF management fund managers to be able to have some tools in place to combat market manipulation. And I think once we have that, then there's a really good opportunity for a Bitcoin ETF. But are we going to have that by February this year? I sure hope, like, come January, they announce we have a new monitoring fund and it's going to stop market manipulation. But if we don't see something like that, I imagine we're going to get that ETF denied. And that means that the ranging or bear market is going to continue for a while. But I don't know. It might be priced in by that point, so it's hard to say. I'm not going to be throwing huge amounts of dollars at the space, though, until there's a true market confirmation of a reversal, and we're nowhere near that, right? We're at least this far from that. So we got a long way to go, guys. It's going to be a long time, but we're going to hang out here, and if you guys are patient and keep your darts in your pocket, you know, keep it in your pants, there will be a lot of really good short-term opportunities coming up in the near future, regardless of whether we're in a bear market or not. Because even in bear markets, there are bull runs, and that's when the dartboard turns green, and we're just not at that yet. We need probably a few more weeks, maybe, to see that, but we'll see. All right, guys, I am going to end the stream, and play some video games for a while. You guys are welcome to hang out. I will be back in like 2 minutes. You can just hang out here. The stream will restart. If you want to chat about video games or crypto, it's fine. And if you only want to talk about crypto and don't care about games, then I'll see you next Saturday at usual time for Saturday Night Crypto. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I really appreciate you guys coming. And I will see you next week. Until then, be safe, be patient, and don't trade against the trend. Okay? Take it easy.